The Dama Deri fucking I can't fucking do it right now. Welcome to Degaruta episode 6.
It's not hard. Dare demo ga aru ka tasukete kudasai. Watashi ha podcast o toshite tensei sarete kita.
Yeah, what he said. All right, so welcome to episode 6 of the Help I've Been Reincarnated into a Podcast. It's kind of redundant in English, almost.
Yeah.
Because like it makes it sound like we're podcasting about the podcast we make about Isekai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this goes into just a really deep rabbit hole.
It's such a weird rabbit hole that we've gone into. Speaking of weird rabbit holes, this week I think we're going to be talking about our first interactions with Isekai, like the oldest thing that each of us has encountered within this genre. Because it's a lot more expensive than we first thought when we went into this. Like, of all things, Back to the Future is Isekai. The Black Knight is an Isekai. What else is there?
For those who don't remember, The Black Knight is a Martin Lawrence movie where Martin Lawrence falls into a portal at a Ren fair and actually winds up in medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kid in King Arthur's court for Tyler Perry fans.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Army of Darkness is technically an Isekai. And then
it's also a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Because he does go back with his college textbook and his chainsaw and shotgun and basically takes over a small kingdom.
That's right. As you do.
So, as for me personally, the earliest Isekai that I can actually remember was a 70s or 80s movie by the name of The Dungeon Master. A 20-something-year-old man who is inexplicably attached to an experimental computer named Xcal BR8 is summoned to the dungeon of another world by an evil wizard who is really, really bored. So he throws his hero and his girlfriend through 7 tormenting visions, and essentially our hero becomes the hero Excalibrate, who has like this cool ass fucking like arm pad that's able to like do whatever he needs it to. It is the plot device, but it is a cool ass plot device because it's his computer, but it's also connected to him. It's weird, but it's a really good movie. It's a really, really cheesy fucking movie though, and it was like the one movie I was allowed to like only horror movie I was allowed to keep back when I was just a sweet baboo.
Can't have scary movies, not for the babby.
Mm-hmm. So Xavier, what was yours?
The first movie piece of media that I saw that is technically considered Isekai, it would be Masters of the Universe, but I really only remember at that time seeing just clips of it and not really understanding the context.
Mm-hmm.
The first meaningful piece of Isekai that I actually sat down and watched was Beastmaster 2. See, when I was staying in the weekends at my grandparents really kind of just let me go to bed when I feel like it, because typically I tucker myself out about 2 o'clock in the morning,
mm-hmm.
and I'd sleep till about 9, 10 in the morning, and then I'd be full of energy the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always looking for crazy stuff to watch, and that's how I've made references to weird shit like USA Up All Night, those weird movies that exist but nobody has ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these nights I caught Beastmaster 2. And part of the story of Beastmaster 2 is, which I can't say it verbatim because it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, start to finish. The movie starts with Beastmaster, who is a character from obviously Beastmaster. He has a panther, who's actually I think is a panther now, whereas before he was a tiger painted black very badly.
Oh,
That actually killed that tiger, but
Oh, no.
I digress. He had a hawk that listened to him, and he had this like crazy, goofy glaive thing from Krull that looked really fucking stupid, but it flew really well.
hmm
And there's these wizards that are near this archway out in the middle of the desert, and all of a sudden a car drives through it. And what they've actually done is they've created a portal to our world.
Oh no.
And Beastmaster teams up with this annoying valley girl who's driving the car and basically travels to her world to help stop this wizard who has discovered that with the power of technology, he will become all powerful in his world. And the first thing that she teaches Beastmaster is the word jerk. And so he just calls everybody a jerk everywhere he goes for a while. While driving, they also pass a theater that says now playing Beastmaster 2, if I remember correctly.
Weird.
So it's Isekai for like 15 minutes, and then it becomes reverse Isekai. Best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Best it has an asterisk at the end of it.
Unfortunate. Raptro, do you remember your first Isekai experience?
Is Tron Isekai?
You know, in a way, yes, it is.
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes.
Then Tron 2.0.
Oh yeah, you're just a sweet
Yes,
taboo.
the true sequel.
Mhm.
The actual proper fucking sequel to Tron, and I will take no
I have-
alternatives.
Mhm.
I have it sealed still in its PC box. My plan was to as soon as I could set my computer up to run it, I was gonna stream that shit. And
Yeah.
we should, I should do
Yeah,
that.
so for those of you not in the know, Tron 2.0 is, I want to say, like a 2003 or 4 first person shooter set in the Tron universe. Didn't know that at the time. I just had the Xbox copy.
The Xbox copy is vastly inferior to the PC version.
From what I've heard, yes, and I've picked up the Steam version in the meantime and got
It's on
but
Steam?
yeah, it's on Steam.
Fucking yes! I'm buying it right now.
And it's very easy to get running with just a couple fixes.
Nice.
Hey.
Yeah, so if you haven't played Tron 2.0, I highly recommend it. But you play as the son of Flint, and essentially, like, it follows that beat of Tron Legacy a little bit, but then it just kind of diverges completely because there's a virus and it's actually like corrupting the system, and you have to both defeat the virus and escape the system. And it is just so cool to have like a first person RPG set in the like Tron mainframe, where there are also like light cycle sets and shit like that, and it's like you are a program, or you're like a device, right?
Right.
So you have a certain amount of memory that increases every level, and you can add software to your hardware based on how much memory you have, which augments the things that you can do.
Because basically you get these fucking stun baton. You get your light cycle stick, which when you get enough software can split into fucking stun rods, or becomes your sniper rifle, which if I remember correctly was called the LOL.
Yeah. You also have the disc, which is your basic weapon. You get a shotgun and like assault rifle, pretty much standard first-person shooter fare, and then you get like just the weirder shit where you can just, oh hey, I'm gonna take my disc and I'm going to put like a fucking code destabilizer on it, so you just start disintegrating programs with it.
That sounds ridiculous.
It's great.
At one point there was a mod, I remember you could it wasn't a mod, but it was something that changes your disc so that it would like kind of split, and you could just sit there and like throw out like 5 or 6 of the discs. And everything looked like Tron. Everything felt and sounded like Tron. Even the soundtrack sounded like Tron.
Hmm.
You know, Daft
Mhm.
Punk did a really damn good job with the soundtrack for Tron Legacy. I just wish it had been in a better movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So Alan Flynn's son, or no, it's not Alan Flynn. It's Alan. Oh god, Alan Bradley. The kid of Alan Bradley and Cindy
Yeah.
Morgan.
Yep.
Um,
Jethro. They called him Jet.
Yeah, fucking Jethro Bradley, and everybody just refers to him as Jet. He's fucking sick.
His dad hacked his way into the mainframe with a Tron arcade machine as the mysterious guest.
Here is the fucking cover for this. This should paint how fucking rad this game was.
That looks rad as hell.
Yeah,
Goodness.
and so I didn't know this at the time, but the people who made it, Monolith Productions, have also made some of my other favorite games of all time.
Fear 2.
Blood.
I don't know if they did Blood 2.
They did, but that one was rushed and it's really bad.
Yeah, and you can't play it on modern systems. I just tried recently. It's just like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Shogo Mobile Armor Division.
That one I have not tried.
It's like a fucking you play. It's imagine a westernized version of Gundam as a first-person shooter.
That sounds kind of neat.
Yeah. They made Alien vs Predator 2, the No One Lives Forever games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those were a decent sequel to GoldenEye 64.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of decent properties, let's move on to our books.
Let's go first.
Yeah, Xavier, you want to go on?
Okay, yeah. This week I did A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, the first of the John Carter books.
Mm-hmm. An ancient series.
Yes. I do want to say that there are some books that are rather timeless, and that no matter how much time has passed in between when they were first written and when you actually finally get to read them, the story doesn't really change that much. As far the impact is still the same. There are other books that are very much kind of trapped in the period they were written,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to account for that in your reading. There are people right now that throw fits at classic books because, well, the culture has changed now, and the things that are in this book, although acceptable at the time, are not acceptable now, and it affects the outcome, such as To Kill a Mockingbird. It doesn't matter that the entire book is about racism and, you know, people being run to the courts specifically just because they just want, if the right person commits a crime, or don't, there's accused, they'll still convict them either way.
Mm-hmm.
But also that there's, you know, good people out there that regardless of society will still try to do good. No, but it also includes a woman accusing a man of rape that he didn't commit, and well, in this area, you can't have that. It doesn't matter that she was only covering for the abuse she was embarrassed about from her father. Women don't lie about abuse. Believe all women. And therefore, now you're not even talking about the same book anymore.
Yeah.
The messages aren't getting through.
No. I know with the To Kill a Mockingbird that they removed that from a bunch of schools recently because it was making people uncomfortable, which is the entire point of the book.
Yeah.
But, you know, comfort before, you know.
The reason I start with this is because the book opens up with a foreword written by Edgar Rice Burroughs from his own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells us the following few things. Is number one, John Carter is his uncle. John Carter was a captain in the Confederate Army during the Civil War. However, John Carter was respected by everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone treated him kindly, including his family slaves. Like Edgar Rice Burroughs' family slaves it's not clear if it was like the Burroughs family slaves or the Carter family slaves, but he showed them the utmost respect, and they also showed him respect and caring and affection.
Mhm.
Everyone liked him. Everyone liked being around him. He returned kindness with kindness and contempt with contempt. As long as you were cool towards him, he had no beef with you. Then one day he disappeared for about 10 years, and he came back and had a strange tale, but nobody paid him much attention. Only that he has suddenly acquired a vast amount of almost unlimited wealth and spent 10 years kind of gallivanting around the world and doing Lord knows what. And then he mysteriously died, leaving behind a couple of letters, one of which was directed to him, Edgar Rice Burroughs, saying, "You are the executor of my estate. Come visit anytime you want."
Mhm.
There's another letter here which includes his journals. You are not to read them until at least 11 years after my passing. And the vault itself is not to be opened until 20 years after my passing.
Because then this is foreshadowing, people.
Right. Sometimes one thing that we kind of take for granted in books these days is kind of the past tense, present tense way of writing. Because if you actually think about a book hard enough, if something's being written in the past tense, it means that the story your character is telling a story to somebody else later on. It means that all this has already come to its conclusion. He's just relaying what happened.
Mhm.
Whereas present tense is you're getting it as it's happening and as the character's kind of thinking about it. Sorry, I'm dragging my feet. I feel this is important to kind of establish some things really quick. Present tense would be like, I'm walking towards the temple, looking to the left and the right. The guards are not going to make this easy for me. Past tense would be like, I walked towards the temple. To my left and to the right stood several guards bearing their arms, followed by a description of the temple. I knew then this probably wasn't going to be easy, but then again, nothing ever really is.
Yeah, because the past tense seems a lot more mysterious in a way.
It allows you to establish things more visually and get that better imagery, but if you think about it hard enough, it inherently kills stakes by letting you know that everything worked out okay, because at least the narrator made it out alive.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the active tense, it's just like, present tense. You're not sure if they're going. If you think long enough about it, they could die at any moment, at any time. In a number of books that I can't name the fucking name of, the narrator is talking, and then all of a sudden they're dead.
That or with somebody else.
That or somebody else, and then it moves on to the next person and goes on from there.
Present tense has kind of fallen out of style. There's still some books that do it, but everything kind of just goes with past tense, and it's always people don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we begin. John Carter was a Confederate captain with a full pension for an army that no longer exists, so he is broke as fuck. So he's taking a job as a prospector with somebody he knew from the army up in California during the gold rush. So he goes up there and is trying to find his buddy because his buddy kind of went up there and didn't come back. John Carter has also fought in the cavalry in some of the Indian wars.
Mm-hmm.
So he's well aware of the tribes that are in that area. And when he comes up, I can't remember if he specifically which tribe was, so I'm just going to say Apache. So he finds a whole encampment of Apache braves. And he also sees what looks like the body of his buddy down there. So he does the only thing he could think of in this situation to get them to leave so he can at least check out his buddy is he comes running down the hill, firing both of his guns into the air at regular intervals while screaming, hooping, and hollering to make him convinced that one guy is actually an entire regiment.
Oof.
And they all get up and they run away for about 10 minutes until they realize no one's chasing them. In that time, he sees that his friend is already dead.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, really sucks. But he still had to check on him. They already mutilated his body and all sorts of other shit. Eventually, he gets chased because they figure out it was a ruse. They chase him into this cave. The cave actually turns out he sees all the gold that they were looking for because they had spotted this cave with some gold ore. And they were supposed to come back up there with equipment to mine it out. But there was also some weird shit in there. And once he gets in there, he's kind of paralyzed. And as he turns around, like, it's taking everything he can to do it. He sees there's an Indian brave in there with him. And yes, I know I'm saying Indian. It's just because I read it in the book and now it's there.
Mm-hmm.
A Native American brave.
You have the Indian pass, my brother.
Right.
Anyway.
Is standing there, but isn't approaching him any further. Then he sees that there's like 5, 6, 7, 10 other guys behind him, and they're not moving. They're all kind of just backing away slowly. He can't move. And also, there's this purple mist that kind of enters the cave, and John Carter passes out. He wakes up outside the cave, and he's naked. And he doesn't know what the hell is happening. But he starts looking at the stars for some reason because he's feeling like mighty zen. He's like, let's see, there's Venus, Big Dipper. And he focuses on Mars. Mars, the god of war, my profession of choice. And he gets really, really focused on it for some reason. And then all of a sudden he wakes up again and he is on Mars. He is naked. He is extremely confused. And Franco only brought sunglasses.
Unfortunate.
He is shocked to learn that he is in another world, which he doesn't realize at first, but also shocked by the fact that he has obscene levels of strength and agility now due to the low gravity. He takes a couple steps, tries to climb up some rocks, and is shocked when all of a sudden he's at the top and he trips and falls over. The first people that he encounters in Mars is the green men of Mars, the Tharks. He comes across one of their incubation stations, and they don't know what to make of him, and then he jumps away, and then they think he's fucking fascinating, so they kind of bring him back as a pet. Eventually, things sort of change the more you learn about the Tharks, like the fact that they're basically savage commies.
Terrible savage commies.
Everything belongs to the community, including the offspring.
Mm-hmm.
There are no marriages. There's no love. There is every female lays eggs and turns them into the community, totaling about 1,000 eggs every year. They're then analyzed by the Tharkian breeding specialists, who then select 100 perfect eggs to go into a safe lock, and the rest are destroyed. Once they have 500 eggs, which takes a period of 5 years, they actually send them to the incubators. If the eggs do not hatch after incubation, they are destroyed. If you are found to be born with some sort of deformity, you are shot. If after being raised for so many years, you appear to have some sort of illness of the mind, you are shot.
It's not a very kind people, these Tharks.
What's funny is that technically it's unknown how old they live. Everyone on Barsoom, because that's what they call Mars, lives, as far as they know, to be 1,000 years old, barring illness or injury. And they could actually live longer. It's just that when you hit 1,000, you're supposed to float down the river Is, which is you just get on a raft and you go down the river, and wherever that takes you, you go. And you don't ever come back. We learn about that in the later John Carter books, but John Carter is taken in by them. He slowly learns their language. And basically comes to terms with the fact that, okay, this is my life now. He has a giant fucking mutant pug, which Woola, who just adores the shit out of him, that he basically has to fight one of the Tharks to let him know that this is mine.
Mhm.
And eventually he realizes the Tharks are kind of a keep what you kill society, wherein he kills one of them, and because that guy happened to be a chieftain, he's now recognized as a Thark chieftain. He's only been there a week.
I mean, didn't that happen to in that one fucking movie? Oh, crying out loud! This is gonna bug me now. I'll remember
Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kinda, yeah. But for the most part, he has no idea he's on Mars. He knows he's from Earth. He knows he's not where he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of abandoned cities all over the place, which are kind of predated by various creatures such as the great white ape of Mars, who are just vicious animals. And he earns a lot of status and privilege by killing one. Because even the Tharks don't like fucking with them if they can help it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one day there's a pleasure cruiser that's just floating by from the Red Men of Mars. And so the Tharks attack it. And they kill most of the people, and they take a couple of people prisoner. Among them is the daughter of the leader of the Red Men everywhere, Deja Thoris, who is described to be as one of the most beautiful people that John Carter has ever seen. Also, she is naked, except for some minor ornamentation.
Nice.
And John Carter would really like to lay some pipe, but he is a gentleman, and therefore he will only lay pipe when she calls for the plumber. or orders a pizza.
Glorious. As it should be.
Right. What the... Unlike the other books I've described, where I just go into vast amounts of crazy detail, I actually can't do this with this book because it's paced in such a way that it's actually a very short, very quick read,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot happens. Most of it is John Carter learning about the world of Barzoom, interacting with Deja Thoris, and the various shenanigans and misadventures they wind up getting into as they try to escape from the Tharks, making friends and allies with them eventually, and then returning her to her place of birth, which is Helium, the capital of the Red Men, which eventually involves him joining the Air Force of a neighboring Red Man settlement that currently has problems with Helium.
Yeah, the city-state, right?
Yeah. It's like a neighboring city-state, and
Mhm.
he becomes fascinated with their flying machines, and he basically just joins their Air Force to figure out how their technology works and, kind of establish himself so he can get information.
Which is what you do.
Yeah. And it is a really fun read. The thing I mentioned before about the past tense,
Mhm.
the fact that Edgar Rice Burroughs is basically told you at the beginning of this book, John Carter gets out of this. John Carter was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's just eliminated all the stakes, and yet he controls the level of what you know about the world at any given time. He keeps the world small and keeps showing you grander and grander things, just slowly pulling back the veil. Like, okay, we're hanging out with the Green Men. All of a sudden, we're in this abandoned city where these giant apes attack. That's all we know. All of a sudden, there's a floating ship above us. Now, all of a sudden, John Carter's in a fucking arena battler. Now he's joining the Air Force. And just slowly pulling things back. You find out that a long time ago, Mars used to be very green and lush. Then
Mhm.
something bad happened. And now the only thing that's keeping everyone alive is that the Red Men use the last of the great sciences to create the great machines, which, according to Deja Thoris, have kept Mars with enough oxygen to breathe and enough water to keep everything alive with no loss since the machines went online.
Meaning they're super, super efficient. Goodness.
So, accounting for population growths, which are controlled in a lot of places, they've had no loss, meaning that if they would all stop fucking warring with each other, they might be able to work on restoring the planet. But why would anyone want to do that?
I don't know. I mean, red sand on Mars, yellow sponge everywhere sounds like a pretty cool thing. I mean, come on, who doesn't like being able to breathe? I don't like breathing. I mean, I'm not gonna breathe right now.
No one even really needs to breathe. That's just a lie told by the liberal media.
Nobody needs to breathe.
That's just fake news. But it's a good book. I highly recommend it. I said it's a very quick and easy read.
Mm-hmm.
The thing you have to get past is the fact that, one, he was a Confederate soldier. And for a lot of people, they're not going to care because, especially in the second book, where John Carter encounters the black men of Mars who just look like black people. And as soon as he meets one, it's just like meeting another guy. Guy saves his life. John Carter shows him nothing but respect and speaks to him politely.
Yeah, he's, as you said before, he shows what he's given.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As for my book, it is The God of Magic by Logan Jacobs. Oh my god. And it is a story surrounding a Californian by the name of Gabriel Vega. So he's just in he's in an apartment. He's heading to his apartment, coming back from work, and he's just, minding his own business. He opens the door, and there's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen standing there. And
excuse me, sir, did you order a pizza?
First thing you notice is that she's got tan skin and a white flowing dress that accentuates her features, and the fact that she seems to have elf ears that he thinks that are prosthetic. And she's looking at his PlayStation 3 just to figure out what it is. And she says, "Oh, Gabriel, I've been looking for you." He wants to question that why this beautiful lady is in there, but he can't bring himself to. And she said, "Listen, I need your help. I just got a prayer from another group, and I need your help to help change this world because your power is untapped here." And she briefly shows him the power of magic. And being the wise man that he is, he says, "You know what? I'll take it." So he follows her, and he arrives in a noble, bright world, which is D&D 5th edition with all the numbers filed off. Yeah. So it's not that bad. It's not that bad so far. So the prayer was by this guild called the Shadow Foxes, and they were praying for some sort of assistance. It's never made clear what the assistance was requested, but as soon as he arrives, he has the ability to manipulate magic. Since all the numbers are filed off, Erin's called a healer, even though she's a cleric. Lavinia is one of those half dragons but she's called an archer, even though she's a ranger. And then there's Marek, which is a half-orc nobleman knight that obviously is a fighter, but he only fights using 2 shields. Meanwhile, Gabriel Vega, he gets turned into as best as I can tell, a sorcerer with an illusion focus. And they're in a dungeon, and they're trying to, do dungeon shit. So they succeed at that, and then they head back to their town. Now, thousands of years ago, in the book, manipulators, or sorcerers, I guess, were all extincted because they were blamed for the destruction of the world about 1,000 years ago. They made weird science. They halted magic, and elementalists, which are wizards essentially, they fought back and tried to stop them, and they successfully managed to kill a whole bunch of them. They have a couple. So being a manipulator in this world is very dangerous. So he's got to essentially they as soon as he arrives, they make him the leader of the guild, and now he's got to try and keep both his secret that he's a super powerful manipulator from being found out, as well as stoop all the ladies, because that's practically what he gets down to as soon as he lands back in the city anyway. So the book
came here to lay pipe and chew bubble gum, and you guys don't have any bubble gum.
That's essentially what happens. They go on more and more adventures, and they start meeting people, and they go on a particular adventure against cannibalistic dwarves, which was kind of neat, and they save a noble woman from that, and eventually just goes on, and it's an interesting little story, even though it's essentially just D&D 5e with all the numbers filed off. All of the numbers filed off. You'll see characters in later books, because there's only 7. He just recently finished the series, and he starts getting more and more party members, but there's not one lady that he does not shtup. Not one. Even past the very end. Like at the very end, he even shtups Thera, the goddess of luck. At the absolute end. So it's just like one series of venturing through dark fucking dungeons, and holy crap, do they turn into such murder hobos throughout the series.
Well, any D&D story should turn into we have this party of adventurers. No, they're murder hobos.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of like spoil some of their murder hoboing. They're in the desert. They go and they're looking for something, and they find a cave full of halflings, and it's just shown that they're they're halflings. They're little short people about 2 feet tall, but they're obsessed with fighting. These halflings are really obsessed with fighting. So when they try to negotiate for the thing that they're looking for back, they accidentally cause a riot, which point the whole party murders this entire cavern of halflings, which is like 150 people. They just murder the whole thing, and then after they murder it, literally all these halflings, they just loot the cave and leave. So it goes into it's otherwise a very comedic sort of thing, because it reminds me of a Konosuba if they actually let the main hero have sex. But yeah, it's actually not too bad of a book series. Other than that, I don't know if it'll last as long as say John Carter of Mars or these other ancient books, because it's just D&D 5e just with all the numbers filed off, and a isekai protagonist that actually does get better over time, but he's just really kind of boring. Speaking of boring, I heard you got hurt, Raptro.
Yeah.
Please tell us how you got hurt.
Elaborate? Yeah. Do the thing that I should be doing. Yeah, so I read Isekai Yakkyoku, which is just in another world as the god of medicine. And it started out super strong. Like the first chapter is like the first bit of it takes place in what could be our world, where a dude who's slightly older than his sister, she's like high school age, he's in college, and she gets diagnosed with near untreatable disease. So he goes into the field of medicine. He dedicates himself completely to trying to cure his sister, and he's unable to cure his sister, so he resigns himself to figuring out a cure for the disease so no one has to suffer the same fate as his sister. And he works and works and works, and he distances himself from everyone else in the world, and it is genuinely sad how it is written, and it it breaks your heart a little bit, like, oh my, well, I'm doing this so no one has to feel the same way I did. And he works so hard at this that he dies. He doesn't find the cure. He basically nothing happens. He just dies from overwork.
That's just the Japanese way.
Yeah. And so then he wakes up in the body of a child. The way it's explained is the child died at the same instant he did, and his soul, being, completely worthy of reincarnation and everything, was supposed to get a new body, and it was just put in this one. Which, fine, whatever, that's explained later, but that's getting into just how fucking silly this, because it starts out as like this really good medicine thing, and I thought, oh, he's going to use his knowledge of modern day medicines to help the people of what is almost like post-medieval England. And it really is like he invents the microscope, he teaches people what bacteria is. There's a lot of this. Then it's revealed his cheat skill is, I can see what is making you sick and where you are sick. And it starts out so fucking, and I was willing to accept the cheat skill shit.
Right.
But then it just keeps escalating and escalating, and it's no longer he is saving people through use of modern medicine. It's, oh, I have invented through magic a cure for the cold. I am stopping the plague by like, the plague shit is like neat because he as a student of medicine, he knows what causes the plague, and he tells people to do that, but then it's just like he cures the plague anyways. So it's like the preventative measures he took to help people from keep getting the plague like don't matter, because he just has it. He opens a shop and he just sells this cheaper than any other like pharmacist in this world sells this shit. He is essentially granted like one of the highest titles in the early few chapters from the queen, who he saves her life, because that's when he tells everybody about bacteria and whatnot, and that you don't need to pull people's blood out to cure them. And this is all fine. And then the twist is he's investigated by the church as a heretic. The church tries to kill him, and then it is revealed that he is a living reincarnation of the god of medicine. And then like all the magic shit kicks off, and it's just like everybody has magical powers and this shit that just wasn't there before. So it goes from being, hey, this is an interesting drama about a guy using medicine to help people, and like his cheat skill is like he can see what's wrong and he can figure out, but it's just it fucking goes sideways. Eventually the fucking harem builds around him, because it already kind of was, but then it like once it's revealed, oh, he's the god of medicine, the main inquisitor, the main inquisitor from the church weirdly kind of falls in love, appoints himself as the head of the church near the pharmacy that he and then all the other people who investigate are sent to the farthest corners of the kingdom, and told if they ever breathe the word about him being the god of medicine, he will be, or they will be executed for heresy, because he is a living reincarnation of God, and the church defends that. Yeah. He finds out that the kingdom is becoming more and more because of his mere godly presence. And it's just, oh, more shit goes right. More shit goes. At one point, the other alchemists get upset at him, and they run a cart, horse-drawn cart, but they like detach the horses and ride them off to the side at the very end, so the cart just goes through a store and destroy her. And in literally like the next few pages, the queen's like, we're just going to fix your store free of charge. We're going to find out who did it, and we're going to punish them. And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna start my own alchemist guild, and we're just gonna sell shit for cheaper. I'm gonna teach people what medicines do and shit like that. And it's like
there's no drama here.
There is no drama. It starts with drama, is the thing. Like that's why I was like super into it. And then it's just like, okay, you've got your moped and it's going. But then both the tires pop. And it's like it'll still drive, but you're on the rims, and it's just, this isn't good anymore. Like that moped's tires popping has more drama than with this fucking book.
Unfortunate. Because even with God of Magic, the action was escalating. Like, they fought more and more dangerous things. Like in the third book, they were fighting underground lobsters that needed magical weapons to be, in order to be damaged.
Yeah.
And that's where he had to like force himself to learn how to enchant everyone's weapons at once.
Yeah, I wish that this had something like that. Most action. The most action is like his brother, who's going to the college and believes he's like going to be the next great pharmacist, and has no idea his little brother is the reincarnation of the god of medicine and already more advanced than him. Like he comes home and they have a big magical fight. And at this point, the church has already bequeathed the previous living god of medicine's staff to the king, and he is the only person who can wield it, because you literally need to be the god of medicine to even hold it, because it is a holy artifact. It will just phase through people's hands.
So that was an artifact shibboleth. Neat.
Yeah.
But still, this is...
There's still no
going
stake.
right. Too much is going right. This is...
Yeah. This is a vegan barbecue. There are no steaks.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
So, you know what? Thank you for suffering through that there, Rapcho.
Yeah, that seems to be my shtick.
Hopefully something...
someday you'll get a good one.
Yeah, hopefully someday.
Because kind of reminds me of like this is the world. Magic in this world is too far behind, in that somebody gets sent to a world where they're actually kind of an expert on it, and everything's downplayed. Except that there were stakes there, and they managed to keep the drama going by not having him give a shit about the world and just focus on his own thing.
Because there was two other friends. Those two other friends went off to go fight the Demon Lord, while he was just trying to go back home. And I think the book is leading towards that particular book is leading towards him discovering the secret of magic through having to basically rebuild this whole world's magic system from the ground up, because it is way too far behind compared to where he is in the modern world, in which wizards are essentially hunted down and murdered, so they have to do everything they can in order to hide. So there are no stakes for this poor guy. Not even an attempt to murder him doesn't work.
So the attempt to murder him is just like they use magic on him, and so he has stigmata all up his arms, which like they're tattoos, or they glow like super bright when they're not covered. And so they cast a bunch of like ice spells to keep him in place and just like fucking cut his head off. It doesn't affect him. He walks through it. And then after a while, he just gets fucking tired of them trying to kill him. and he releases like a water pulse, and it just pushes everybody back. It pushes one guy so far back and so hard that he hits his leg on a rock, and it breaks in half.
Nice.
And so then instead of just like murdering them, he's like, "Oh well, I'm a doc. Let me see your leg," and he splints it. And then he like casts a healing spell, and it's like the bone isn't completely healed, but it's like he didn't really put that much magic into it. It was just like, I'm gonna get you to where you're not gonna have to amputate your leg. Just keep it in the splint, and get the fuck away from me. That's probably like the biggest escalation of like state, is just like nothing hurts him.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that is boring bullshit.
Yeah.
So, leaving on that, hopefully we are not boring bullshit, and we're gonna probably end this episode. Hopefully, well, we'll get more books. Hopefully next time. So this is your host, Michael and Xavier, and Raptro, and hope you tune in next time to Degaruta.
Later.
Bye, nerds.